Recording.
I don't know, that was like voice actress level.
We're recording.
Hey, thank you for joining the Escape With Me Book Club. Escape with me, Sam Reiner.
And me, Caitlin.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and go into detail about a new book. We'll be covering the book from beginning to end, so there will be spoilers. Today we're going to the Sun Countries. That's apparently the name of the kingdom.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Published July 21st, 2021, What Once Was Mine is the 12th installment of the Twisted Tales series. Back to Liz again, but this time she's not in a nonsense world of her own making. Can the author do this tale justice, or will it fail like so many before it? So, background, this is one of your favorites.
Oh, I love Tangled. It is my favorite post-classic era modern Disney princess.
I've always been kind of meh on it, and I think it's because of Mother Gothel.
She's great. Mother Knows Best is a great villain song. I love it so much.
It does, but let's just say it just hits different.
That's fair.
Which is funny because one of the first characters and one of the first villains you get in Dreamlight Valley is Mother Gothel, which I think the author actually did pretty good justice to, because she also did Little Mermaid, and you get Ursula in that game, and playing and talking to Ursula and reading the book, I was like, these are two separate people. But I feel like Mother Gothel was pretty on point.
Yeah, I mean, she's such a good classic archetype, so it's pretty easy to mimic her. And then, I mean, Ursula is very well known and has that same sort of gumption. I mean, actually, if you side by side compare Mother Knows Best to Ursula's villain song, they actually have a lot of the same messaging, which is, I know the real world better than you, so you need to listen to me, now that I think about it.
One of them is just being honest that she's a sea witch.
Fair.
And the other one's pretending to be a mom.
Yeah.
But that was going in, you were very worried that Liz had Rapunzel because you love it so much.
I had the same apprehension I had with Snow White.
But as we have found out, when it's a Jin book followed by a Liz book, the Liz book always looks better by comparison.
Much.
So, yeah, fun. Age level, this is still a YA with a content warning of
here we go. Buckle your seatbelt, folks.
Cancer, specifically cancer in a child. Pregnancy, murder, death, adoption trauma, death of a child mentioned a lot. A lot. Blood, kidnapping, animal cruelty, nudity mentioned, graphic violence, and language PG-13.
Yeah.
We'll circle back to that cancer in a child, but judge a book by its cover. The question is, what if she drank the wrong flower or something like that? And so I looked at the cover and her hair is silvery and there's a big moon in the background. And I'm like, okay, so it's a moonflower instead of a sunflower.
So you got that pretty immediately?
Yeah, because it's the sundrop flower. But I was like, okay, if I were going to do it, I would pair it with a moondrop flower.
Yeah. No, that's fair. What I noticed about it going back and looking at it though was this one has the least amount of hints at the story than the other covers. Example is like Alice in Wonderland, all the little details it had on the thing, and a lot of them will have other silhouettes, like you'll get the villain silhouette as well and the hero silhouette, but this one, it's just Rapunzel in the tower with a lantern and her hair in the moon. Really, there's no Flynn, there's nothing hinting at Gina, there's nothing hinting at the parents or Maximus or Pascal, nothing.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because if you look at the profiles, one, Rapunzel has long hair.
Yeah.
And two, Rapunzel is in a tower. And so I just wonder if they're like, that's the only way to make it super obvious that this is Rapunzel just from looking at it is putting her in a tower.
Yeah, it's striking enough.
Because she's not like Meg where she has really, really obvious hair or some of the other ones. But then again, that doesn't stop them. Almost there, Tiana doesn't really have a big profile either. And so you know it's Tiana because of the title and the color more than anything else. So
yeah.
I don't know anything about this series. I don't know what the editors are thinking or the graphic designers or anybody.
It feels like every single one exists in a vacuum. Every author feels different. Every editor feels different. Every artist feels different.
There has to be a bajillion editors.
Yes, there's very little consistency.
Because to do my favorite thing to track, this one had chapter titles or POVs, which got really annoying because sometimes there will be a chapter title, but then other times it'll just be 6 chapters in a row of Rapunzel.
Uh-huh.
Why are we splitting up the chapters then? And then sometimes it'll be like, oh, Mother Gothel or
Flynn or Gina.
Whatever. And then sometimes it'll have a chapter title and you're just like, where's the consistency?
Yeah, at the end, we got this random, the battle for Castle Bathory. And I'm like, what the actual heck is going on?
No one knows. If this is the same editor, what are you doing? Where is the consistency?
Yeah. Is that public information? Is that information in the beginning of the book? Because that's something we haven't been tracking, our editors.
So here's the thing. It shows the production company. It shows the publisher, but it doesn't give you the exact name of the head editor.
Okay.
So that's kind of like an internal thing. So we know who is publishing it. It's Disney, but one of their conglomerates, like fancy wording and whatever. But yeah, I just have so many questions.
Let's get into it so we can ask those questions.
So
the one thing you will be immediately taken aback by when you read this book.
And I don't understand why she did it. I really don't. I'm so confused.
The book opens and guess what? You're in the real world where cancer in children exists.
And Rapunzel is not real.
Yeah, it's full on. They reference Tangled. They reference all the stories. They mention the stuff from the movie. Okay, we've just broken the fourth wall. When were we allowed to do that?
All the other books are like, hey, this is real. Meg, in the last book, they mentioned a bunch of Greek mythology stuff.
Yes.
There's ones that reference the Bible. This book references the Bible also.
And Cinderella.
What?
And the geography of where
lizards are.
No, not a lizard. What is Pascal? He is specifically a
chameleon.
Ah, thank you. They literally have a conversation about how chameleons don't exist in this part of Europe. So there's so much reality grounding between the fantasy portion and the real life flash sideways or whatever they are.
It really takes you out of the story.
Yes, it is wild.
Which, once again, who approved this?
Yeah.
Who was like, all the other ones are real except this one. This one's going to be about children with cancer.
Yeah, so we're Princess Briding it. Like, why? I mean,
When Princess Bride did it, it enhanced the story. When this one did it, it just took you out and you're like, great, I have to read 3 pages about this girl complaining because it's not tangled enough.
Well, what I did say is, honestly, she gave me vibes of you because one of the first flash sideways.
Okay, that's fair. She did ask a lot of the questions I had.
She asked so many questions that Sam would ask reading this book. And then, and specifically, when the first flash sideways, and she's like, oh, men, the patriarchy, they just don't understand how to write a woman. I said, that is Sam. That is a Sam comment.
But I'm not doing that to you as you're reading the book.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think in my head,
it reached a limit to me.
Yes, it did.
Where it was like, okay, cool, we have the Princess Bride, whatever, but it would happen randomly and it would take you out of the book and then they would put you back and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
This is all made up. What are we doing here? Screw suspension of disbelief. We're just gonna remind you constantly that this is a story. But not in the cute way that Princess Bride did it, where it was like, ew, they're kissing. And then later it's like, it's okay if they kiss. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, pretty rough. But we can start talking about the book itself. I'm not going to talk about the little interludes, honestly.
Yeah, you did not acknowledge them at all.
No, they don't add anything. Anyway, so this brother is tired of hearing about Tangled stuff, and so he's like, I'm going to tell you a story that's Tangled but not Tangled. Here's the story. So, like I said, it's the Moondrop Flower, not surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I did want to point out, the brother's kind of the worst, and I know they're like, oh, it's so much better that I'm mean to you, but she's literally going through a chemo treatment right now, and she's supposedly regressed to really enjoying Rapunzel, which makes sense. When I was in the hospital for a week, I think I watched Princess Frog like 6 times. But his comment is specifically, why do you like Rapunzel so much? Your hair is black and you don't even have it anymore.
Yeah.
That's such an insanely cruel thing with no basis in reality or logic. Any child, no matter their hair color, could like Rapunzel. The requirement is not being blonde.
Oh yeah, right now my nephew is obsessed with Coco and wants to make an ofrenda, and he keeps telling all of us he wants to make an ofrenda, and I'm like, an ofrenda is for dead people, but he wants pictures of us, his family, because that's all he understands is that family goes on the ofrenda. So like you said, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can like whatever you like.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow. And he was like, I have to talk to her like this.
Yeah.
So she feels better that I'm teasing her or whatever. And I'm like, sure, Jan. Way to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Great start. This is the beginning of these characters.
It's Jen. She went super dark. As she does.
Liz, what are you doing? Kids with cancer goes a little far, don't you think? Anyway, so drinks the moondrop flower, and Daniela, actually, I'm going to reference one time when she's like, what are you doing? How did they confuse them? One is yellow and one is silver. And he's like, they just asked for a glowing flower. I don't know. A part of me really feels like Liz is venting to her readers.
Yes.
People have asked too many questions, and now she's like, I am hyper aware.
Yes.
Of everything you're going to say.
Please suspend your disbelief. They just confused it. That's all you need to be aware of.
Stop it. Stop asking so many questions.
I didn't dislike his answer, though, where it was just like, they asked a bunch of peasants and people who don't know magic to go find them a glowing flower with no other knowledge that these other flowers existed. Why on earth would they think that this one glowing flower was any different than the sundrop? How were they supposed to know? And I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, you could have, written it in the book. Not as an aside. You could have just been like, hey, we asked for a glowing flower and they found us a glowing flower.
You know what I'm realizing? The way you just said that right now as an aside, why didn't they do this for the Greek tragedy where that is a common method of writing? Why didn't we do this for Meg? That would have at least then made context like, oh, you wrote it like a Greek play where there's the people and then there's the audience speaking in. Missed opportunity.
All of it was a missed opportunity. Oh my goodness. But she's born with silver hair and she kills people.
Apparently. She has a baby temper tantrum and she kills a person. Yikes.
Yeah, one of the maids is brushing out her hair and there's a knot in it. She pulls, it hurts. Rapunzel cries and then the maid drops dead.
Yep. Yikes.
And so I understand half of this. Half of this is, let's pretend the maid was protecting the baby from a snake bite, but they both died. So no one will ask too many questions. You plan to bring her back? The princess? What are you going to tell everyone? Oh my goodness, the princess is alive.
Yeah.
The book does not go into that.
Yeah, explain how that's going to be resolved.
That was my immediate first thought, is you tell all of your people that the princess had died.
Yep.
But you bringing her back.
Yeah, that is your plan eventually to bring her back, because they're like, well, we're going to send her away till she can control her powers. Also, as I said, when did this turn into Frozen? So that's the line from Frozen. That's exactly what they do. They lock her away until she can, quote, control her powers.
Well, Frozen was such a dud. Another example of Jen before Liz. So this is a glimpse at what Frozen could have been. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I have questions about that. No one asked those questions, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is how Mother Gothel gets hold of her.
Yeah, they send out this call. They say, basically, like, we need midwives, which they call mothers.
Good wives.
Yeah, good wives. Who has knowledge of, like, magic and what this can do and help her control. They have the best of intentions, right? But then this super sketchy lady shows up. But like you said, there's no question of, oh, is someone gonna use our baby for harm because she's the crowned princess of a major kingdom? Not even a thought. Now, I will say I appreciated the portrayal of Rapunzel's mom just being so utterly against it, having the hardest time not being able to do it and basically being overridden. That felt more authentic to the time.
Yeah, this is a postpartum mother.
Yeah. Days old, basically. Like, they don't really imply that months have gone by. I mean, if she's a very young baby still, 6 months or less.
Yeah, so of course she's super against it, which Daniela, the girl going through cancer, has to point out to her brother. She's like, she would not be okay with this.
Yeah, she would fight for this. And you're like, you're not wrong. She does. The grief ends up being too much for her, which also understandable.
But here's a little bit my thing. Why did Gothel do it?
What do you mean?
In the movie, she takes Rapunzel because she has the sunflower, and so she's useful to her, and she has to have her. It never feels like she wants to be a mom or she wants her there or anything. And so I was confused why she was so down to raise this random child that has magic, but she never uses the magic. Eventually you find out she's just going to marry her off to somebody.
So the vibe that I got from that was that she mentioned in the conversation multiple times, well, are you going to compensate me and my family? Like, I have a family who you're asking me to give, which was a lie, right? I have a family who you're asking me to give up to take care of this girl. So are you going to compensate me well to make sure that this, and they're like, oh, well, yes, of course, we'll take care of you and Rapunzel. And so it's this idea of, I think, manipulating the king and queen and being able to get her own reward out of it. And then, of course, thinking on down the road, because as she says later, all she ever wants is power and the ability to control people. What better way to do that than with a magical princess?
I don't know. I was was like, Gothel, you seem not out of character, but this is just weird. Oh well. And then a strange woman comes who never gets a name. She's just the good wife. And she's like, ah, gosh darn it. I missed my chance with the princess. Gonna go adopt someone else.
Yep. I was like, she's coming back.
Oh yeah. So the queen visits once, and it's too much for her to be able to see her child, but not to be able to hold her. So instead, she turns her grief to the local orphanages.
Yeah, which relatively plausible. I need to channel this into something else. I need to have a hobby, right? For a lot of people with depression and all that kind of things, finding something to fill your time, giving yourself that purpose back is very helpful.
But they do have to retcon it a little bit because Flynn's story is, I was at an orphanage and it was terrible.
Yeah, well, they have the largest age gap canonically entangled between Flynn and Rapunzel, so.
Yeah, so he left before the Reformation happened.
Yeah.
His backstory still makes sense, guys, we swear. Oh my goodness. But yeah, she grows up pretty similar to the movie, bored, very structured, this, that, and the other thing. Wants to see the lights, which I thought was a little bit funny because in the movie she decides, hey, this is when my birthday is. And she's right.
Yeah.
But in this book, she's like, hey, this is when my birthday is. And she's wrong. It's like a week before.
Yeah, I didn't really realize that until you pointed out. Actually, the lights that they see that they send up in remembrance, they remember for her death, not her birthday.
Exactly. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
And now you see the full twisted version of Gothel, which arguably is much worse in this book than it is in the movie.
Yes.
She's going to sell the kid. Great.
That I have questions about. Gothel, you're raising their daughter, the king and queen, and you're going to sell to the highest bidder, and they're just supposed to be okay with it? Are you going to be like, oh, she died, except, next time you talk to this duke or whatever, he has a new wife, and oh my goodness, she has long silver hair.
Later in the book, I think Rapunzel even questioned that. And it was the idea of, well, it was going to be their problem then. You would have already been married and given away, and they couldn't have done anything about it. They couldn't have gotten you out of it or something like that. So it's going to be like, oh, well. And also, how did you think you were going to get away with it? You were going to turn her back over, already married, with these years of abuse, which they would have figured out eventually, right? And then are you going to have just disappeared to Spain by then or something?
She's not a very good planner. And granted, Mother Gothel of the movie is pretty reactive too. She puts on a good front, but when you actually look at her actions, they're very reactive. But this is pretty bad, my friend.
Yeah. But I will say, of all of it, I did like the intrigue of it and the meeting of the masked nobles and then the spy that comes out and they're all like, oh, like he's all worked for all of us at one point because he doesn't really have any loyalty, blah, blah, blah. And so they end up choosing him to verify that Rapunzel can actually use her powers to kill something.
Which I had a very, very weird reaction to that scene, only because, well, first of all, by the way, Mother Gothel has told Rapunzel that she killed her parents.
Yeah. Yikes. Dark.
I don't know how she was going to get away with that one, because once again, once she's married off, unless everyone keeps it super secret, but like I said, at some point, Mom and Dad are going to hear about this girl with really long silver hair. Anyway, it was just being abusive, being terrible.
Yeah.
But I was a little shocked because graduate level media theory just got tossed out here so casually. She says the medium is the message, which there's a guy named McLand from the 60s who was very, very big on the beginning of media and media theory. And the medium is the message is the concept that what media you use is more important than the message that you say. So the fact you're using a TV commercial is more important than the message. The fact that you're using a radio commercial or you're making something for TikTok or this, that, and the other thing is more important than the actual words you say.
Interesting.
So that's the theory. So she uses it incorrectly because the spy looks at the dead chicken because Gothel made her kill a chicken.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the chicken and she says the medium is the message. Except it's not. The message is more important here. The message is it died. It's not more important that it's a chicken. So it was good. It was very weird to see it randomly in a book. I'm wondering if I've ever read another book before learning about the theory, and it just went over my head. But I was just like, wow, that's kind of cool, Liz.
Yeah, very random.
Very random. But I guess maybe she just heard it at some point and tucked it away. It's like one of those sayings you just say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, he confirms that she can kill people, and so that's going to go on. Anyway, this changes too. Rapunzel sees Flynn. He's running in. He stashes something in a tree, and then he stashes his jacket near the tower somewhere. Rapunzel can't see it at that moment. It's on the door that she did not know about. She gets very upset.
Yeah.
But instead of him getting into the tower, you know, and the meeting and the frying pan and this, that, and the other thing, she leaves her tower.
Yeah. She decides, I'm going to go find this thing.
Okay, here's one thing I do love. And I wish she had done less with the real world people and more with the asides, because she does something and she's like, oh, and I used my hair to get down onto the ground. And it's like, and Rapunzel never thought that that was weird. There's so much hair logic, and I kind of love it.
Yeah.
Where she'll do something and people will be like, how did you do that? And she runs through the forest and she doesn't even realize her hair isn't getting snagged on anything. I did kind of love that.
Yeah.
But like I said, so that makes me think you could have done it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so she finds the tiara and she's like, you know what? That's who I want. He's going to take me to see the lights. But I gotta find him.
Yes.
Also, she makes a lizard friend. That is not a chameleon. It's just a European green lizard.
Yeah. Well, because it's a big moment for her, because she's told that basically if her hair touches anything organic, it's going to be killed. And she's never thought through that. She's never realized, oh, I've been living around houseplants my whole life, or little creatures, and the spiders that she talks about touching and interacting with.
And the moose?
Yeah, and the moose. And she's like, when my hair touches the ground, is it going to kill the grass? Because grass is living, isn't it? And so it says she doesn't kill the bark of the tree and all this kind of stuff. So it's that first crumbling of the wall of, well, maybe Gothel's logic wasn't as tight as I thought it was.
Yeah, maybe there's something more to it here.
And so she uses it as that bolstering. I'm like, oh, I can be outside.
But can we talk about the moose?
Yeah, I didn't really quite understand that. What do you mean a moose got in?
One day, a moose appeared in the tower, and canonically, Rapunzel doesn't know there's a doorway. She doesn't know about the secret room behind the armoire. She doesn't know how to get to the staircase, but a moose just happens to appear.
Yeah.
And then disappear one day, and she has no questions.
I got a witchy mom, man. Apparently that's all I gotta know.
It's a moose! Which, by the way, I think it's a baby moose, because there's no way a real moose could fit in that tower.
Yeah.
But there's so many things I'm totally fine with her not questioning, because I totally get that. Her reality has been created through the manipulation of Mother Gothel. But a moose!
A whole moose!
A whole moose! It's not a bird. It's not anything that can climb the tower. It's just a moose! And she keeps bringing it up!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That moose got brought up more than the thugs at the Snuggly Duckling. And I can't, girl. And she never goes back and she's like, wait a second, that is weird that a moose can get it.
Yeah.
What?
Rapunzel's suspension of disbelief is wild.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Mother Gothel gives her the wanted poster of Flynn Rider for her to paint over.
Yeah, like here's something you can paint on. So there were moments in this book in particular that I was reading, like I'm a trauma therapist, and so reading it from a trauma therapist point of view, I did feel like Liz did a really great job of portraying the internal emotional state of Rapunzel, and particularly when Gothel comes back and she's trying to get her to reconsider, and Gothel lays down the line, reminds her of her negative self-esteem, who she is and what she's being punished for. Liz describes, there's this paragraph or something where Liz describes how Rapunzel just immediately shuts down, everything gets turned down, and she notices this wall coming up, and that after this, I'm never going to be able to trust you again, because Gothel took it too far in her response. And yikes, the therapist in me, I was like, wow, if I could read that verbatim to some of my clients describing their parents, or read it to some of their parents explaining this is why your kids feel this way about you, that hit me right in the therapist feels. Oof.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate. You put up with so much and you self-justify so much. And it's not a moment. It's not one thing that Mother Gothel did, but it's one bridge too far.
Yep. And she puts it all together.
And then everything comes crashing down.
Yes. And I think she said the line, realizing I'm never going to be able to trust her with X, Y, and Z, or trust her again, or something like that. And you're just like, oh, that's painful, because Gothel doesn't care, right? But for Rapunzel, this is her mother figure. This is the person who she believes kindly took her in when she killed her own parents and has kept her safe and fed and protected all these years. But she's realizing, despite all of that, I can't have my emotional needs met yet either. And that part just hit me. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, because Gothel's the one who programmed her, basically.
Yeah.
She's pressing that insecurity button that she is installed in Rapunzel, essentially, and press to the point where it just breaks.
Yep.
And I also don't remember what exactly she said, but it was like you said, it was just, she was so excited about not killing the lizard that she was like, hey, we can totally go, we can totally do the thing. And I don't know, in the movie, I totally understand where she's like, I can't let anyone see this girl. If they do, they might know that, oh no, the missing princess, this, that, and the other thing. She could have saved herself a lot of headache in this book by taking her to see the lanterns.
I thought the same thing in the movie too, of just like, you're holding on to your black and white thinking so much. You would just take her to see the lantern. If you had remained in control, this would not have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But yeah, so she wants to see Flynn, but she doesn't know how to get to him because he doesn't come to the castle. She doesn't kidnap him and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah. She said, I'm going to go find him because I can handle the real world.
So she needs to track down Flynn, and she decides, okay, I'm just going to go out in the world and figure it out. Runs into the snuggling duckling and a bunch of thugs. Everyone thinks it's hilarious that she's doing this. It has a lot of similarities to the movie. This book doesn't really reference any of the songs.
Yeah.
Which is weird for Liz. She usually does some sort of reference, but I guess it's normally as chapter titles.
We did reference Mother Knows Best.
Yes, that is very true.
Gothel did say those lines, Mother Knows Best.
Yeah, that one very much felt, it was a conversation, but it very much felt like Mother Knows Best.
Yeah.
And she tries to reference it at the end where she's like, oh my goodness, I like your tattoo. Or
yeah, the cupcake tattoo.
He's like, oh my goodness, someone gets me.
Someone understands the joy of baking.
But I love I Have a Dream.
Oh, it's the best.
Where they all bond over the fact that they have dreams that are beyond whatever the heck they're doing. And like I said, it was referenced, but I was like, I wanted a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's almost like she put it way too early in the book, and so she couldn't make a full reference because she had to get her going to find Flynn and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But instead, we get a new character.
Gina!
Burr, burr, burr. Which I have thoughts on that we'll get to later. But we have a Gina. Come to find out, she's the one that the good wife adopted.
Yes.
But she has dreams of being a highwayman.
And oh my gosh, the line, again, Liz with these truth bombs in this book in particular. Gina at one point makes a comment and she's talking about how difficult it is to get a job and do anything. Because she said, what a boys club. How am I supposed to get experience if no one will hire me?
Truth.
I literally had to pause the book and just take a deep breath. I was like, Liz, this is too real. This is too real. You can't be dropping this. You've already got a girl with cancer in the real world that I have to deal with in these back and forth. Stop dropping the reality on me.
Yeah, that one's pretty real. So Gina decides, hey, we need to find the Stabbingtons because they are looking for him. So
yeah, if we find the Stabbingtons, we'll find Flynn.
They go to a bunch of places to try to find them, and eventually they find them by accident. They run away with Flynn away from the Stabbingtons. There's a little bit of fight, but they get away by going to this place. The Stabbingtons never come up ever again?
Literally never come back.
Which is pretty shocking considering the movie they work with Gothel.
Yeah. And even then there's a scene where two people kidnap Rapunzel and Gothel does rescue her, harkening back to that scene from the movie, but it's not the Stabbingtons. It's two different mercenaries, whatever.
We had too much plot going on somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the Stabbingtons aren't important, forget them.
Yep.
Also, Gina's slowly learning about Rapunzel's trauma. She's like, you got mommy issues. Chickens freak you out.
Yeah. Why? I was forced to kill them. Well, that's twisted.
That's pretty messed up.
Hey, it's a twisted tale.
And you know if something messed up has happened to you intellectually. You're like, oh, that's pretty messed up. But it's not until you tell a third party and you see their reactions that you actually begin to process, oh no, that's messed up.
Yes. I have that in session all the time where someone will casually drop this like super traumatic thing that happened to them. And I'm like, hey, you know, that's not normal, right? And they're like, what? I'm like, that's not okay. That's not something that people do or that they should be doing to you. And they're like, but it happens all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't make it right. And they're like, I thought it was okay. And I'm like, no, honey, that's not okay. That shouldn't be happening to you.
Yeah, I felt that in my core. By the way, Rapunzel sends Gothel up to get the painting stuff. And she's like, when I get back, you know, I'll be gone and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, Gothel, you have the bidding war in a couple days. How in the world are you? She buys it from a store.
Yeah, literally goes to a store and then Petal pops around for the rest of the time.
Which I kind of love more than the movie.
Yeah.
Than her actually going and making that effort.
Well, and I think in the movie she left and then she came back early because she forgot something, and that's how she found out.
She saw something weird, and I don't remember what it was, but something tipped her off.
Oh, a horse, a royal stallion. She saw Maximus in the woods without a rider. That's what it was.
And she was like, that's sus, and then runs back.
Yep, you're right.
But nope, to keep with the trend that she's a horrible person that lies and manipulates, yeah, she just gets it from the store.
Yep.
She doesn't need to travel for days at a time to go get it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because Rapunzel doesn't know about stores. She could have got this paint from the store in the first place and made it up and said, I'm just going to keep that in my quiver if I ever need a couple days away from this girl, and I'm going to go get her special paints.
She does that, and you find out that the royal family keeps sending all this stuff for Rapunzel to have, clothing, jewelry, books, that she keeps in a secret room, and when Rapunzel's being annoying, she'll just give her one of those.
Yes.
And act like, oh, it was such a burden to get this for you.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, she gives one of the bracelets as a birthday present to be like,
see, I remembered your birthday.
I can't take you to the lanterns, but there's this.
Yes.
And Rapunzel's like, she didn't forget that this was my birthday that I have made up.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So that one was actually pretty good. I liked that a lot. But because Flynn's jacket is on the door still, she's like, oh no, it's Flynn.
Yeah.
I must go find him. He is ruining everything.
She assumes Flynn took her.
Well, actually, she assumes that Rapunzel ran off with him like a hussy because, you know, we gotta get those internal misogyny into it. She does not even consider that Rapunzel could have been kidnapped. She just immediately thinks, oh no, I handed her the wanted poster. He's handsome. She ran away with him. Behind my back. Which I thought was a very interesting psyche thing.
Yeah.
Not even considering that she could be kidnapped.
Yeah. Gothel, man.
Anyway, they all get up together. She wants to see the lights, you know, pulls the whole, I'll give you the crown if you let me do the thing. So he agrees. And then, of course, Gina stays along because Gina wants adventure in the Great Wide Somewhere. And here's the thing. I love the concept of Rapunzel having a female thug friend. I hate that Liz makes Rapunzel constantly jealous of Gina.
Yes.
Thinking that Gina and Flynn will get together.
Yes. Immediately, the moment Gina and Flynn get along, Rapunzel's all of a sudden feeling jealousy. Girl, you don't even know what romance is. You've read about it in books. What are you thinking?
It's so annoying. And it would have been one thing if it was in the beginning to be like, oh my gosh, maybe I do have feelings for Flynn. Maybe that's why I'm jealous. Wow. No, it's through the whole book. It takes away the fun of having a female friend to the point where I almost wish it was a guy. So she wouldn't constantly be talking about how she's jealous of Gina talking to Flynn like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Constantly. I was like, where's the Bechdel? Where's the Bechdel?
Did not pass the test.
It does pass the test only because she talks to the good wife about magic and stuff.
That's fair. I do feel like it stopped once Flynn chose, quote unquote, Rapunzel. Before that, yes, once they kissed and something like that, I'm pretty sure the jealousy stopped.
Yeah, but I was so far gone at that point. You already ruined it. That's a little bit how I felt about the romance. It took me forever to buy Flynn and Rapunzel.
Oh, no, I was here from it from the first moment.
The thing I like about the movie is that they have this awkward, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, you're so whatever. You know, At Last I See the Light.
Oh, it's such a good song.
It's so good. And I don't feel like they have a moment where they're like, oh my goodness, at last I see the light. All these feelings that I've been keeping to myself or whatever are coming forward because, oh my gosh, what have I been doing with my life? And so by the end, I'm on board. And it might also still be the Gina thing. I just, oh my gosh, I'm in love with you. I'm going to tell you I'm in love with you. Anyway, I hate you because you're a princess. And the princesses get whatever they want. Ah!
Yeah, and I can't be with a princess.
But also, you're very pretty, and I want to kiss you and look at you.
Yeah, that is one thing that got me a little bit is Rapunzel leaping into the physical affection part of it so fast.
Yeah.
They canonically knew each other for a couple of days. I mean, and I get it, she's like a 19-year-old girl and everything.
Which was interesting, because you're bringing up age right there. I noticed in the movie she's 18, and they aged her up to 19, and they had to do that because they're following a lunar calendar with her. That way she can figure out really easily when the new moon happened when she was a kid. And so they aged her up a year to follow the lunar calendar.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it comes around every 19 years to be the same.
Oh, you're right. Every 19 years.
And so she had to be 19 instead of 18. Fun fact.
That is true. But no, yeah, just how quickly she fell into the physical romance part of it. And I think I made a comment down towards the end. Every single time they kiss, Liz says, on the lips. And I'm like, why do we have to say that every single time? I get it, Liz.
I did not catch that. That's so funny.
But at one point, she's like, I landed a kiss just below his ear on his neck. I was like, this is a little spicy for a kid's book. What? Girl, how do you know that? You've been out of a tower for 4 days.
It was just the whiplash for me from Flynn that frustrated me because she's so obviously really into him and he's so obviously really into her, but he's gonna whiplash because, oh my gosh, you have fancy clothes and I hate that and you're the worst and this, that, and the other thing, but let me stare at you longingly. I just don't Ross and Rachel this.
But they ended in a better place.
It just didn't feel organic. It felt really weird, this back and forth thing that he was doing, and I didn't like it. And like you said, Rapunzel falls into it so much, and then every time Gina's around, there's jealousy, and I'm like, this isn't healthy. This isn't cute. This isn't fun.
Yeah.
This is just kind of messed up, guys. Maybe we should not, but they do. Also, I don't know how I feel about Rapunzel's aversion to being a princess.
I think it came from, she has this image of what a princess is. And that is something I did appreciate about the book, is how a couple different times she started to realize, I can't compare my trauma to someone else. We'll get to it. But like when they're in the village, right? And these children have all this social life and they have this community and they have this group of people who take care of each other, but yet they don't eat all their meals for months on end. Rapunzel has this existential, oh, that's bad. I had food, but I didn't have anybody to share my life with. And that's affected me in a traumatic way too. And so she has this perspective of what a princess is supposed to be from everything that she's read, right, in her fairy tales. And all she knows is that she is not that. So how can I be a princess?
Yeah, and they keep calling her princess and she hates it. Every time they do it, she has a little paragraph monologue about how much she hates it. Which, by the way, I also did like the, I can't compare my trauma to this.
Yeah.
I was a little bit expecting Liz to pull out the Haslow's hierarchy of needs, because that definitely felt like where she was going. You know, yeah, at the bottom you have food, then you have safety, then you have personal connection, and oh, there's one above personal connection, and then self-actualization. And if you don't have something below, you can't get something higher.
Yeah.
Except in extreme situations, you know, a mother will put herself in danger to care for her child. She's putting away her safety for that social connection. And so there's stuff like that. And it comes along those lines a lot. And I'm glad she doesn't beat herself up about it in the, oh, other people have it worse. Because that can be very dangerous thinking for someone who's dealt with abuse is, oh, but they didn't hit me. I had food on my plate. They provided for me. It couldn't have been that bad because of that. And so I'm glad she doesn't go down that route. But she does see how there's different types of trauma and you can't compare it. It's not a race. It's not the suffering Olympics here.
Yeah.
It's you have issues and I have issues and they're different. And yours are bad and mine are bad. And there are moments where she's like, it's hard to compare starving to being emotionally abused and how it's just different and it's all bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And the trauma of poverty just in general.
Yeah.
Pretty rough. And so I also really liked those moments. It felt like she had a lot of personal growth.
Yes.
And by the time she does get to the end, she is a princess. She's like, I know what I want to do in the world.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing she realizes. She's like, I have privilege. I have power. I can never go hungry ever again.
Yes.
And I could just live in that. I could live in that bubble, or I could use that privilege and help other people. And I also think that's a great lesson for kids. Acquire power to help others.
Yes.
Be a Rapunzel. Don't be a Gothel.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty good, I know I'm terrible about this, thinking YA books have to have a moral for the kiddos, but I think that's a pretty good lesson for kids to learn.
Yeah, because I can't remember, it's farther along in the book, but she has this internal monologue about how, oh, so royalty means power, but also witches, sorcery, magic means power too. whoa, wait a second, I have both. So what responsibility and burden does that now put on me because I have both to do better for other people? She has that whole internal conversation and lands in this place of, I cannot misuse this. And she's even like, I can't even be like the witch in the woods, right? I love this person, and she's like the first and best example of maternal love that I've seen, but she hoards herself away and only does things to make her own life better. She doesn't help other people.
Yeah.
That self-actualization was fantastic. Rapunzel's character was very good in that area.
It's very well thought out. And it doesn't happen all at once.
No.
Or spread out too far. I think the pacing of that's pretty good. She is almost constantly thinking about it, but not to a point where that's the only thing she's thinking about.
Yeah. You do get your interlude of like, but boys. But Flynn Rider and the Smolder.
Which is so funny from Rapunzel's perspective, because she's like, I don't know what he's doing with his face.
Yeah. Why is this supposed to be anything?
That was so funny.
Sorry, we went on a character growth tangent there.
And honestly, that summarizes most of this part.
Yeah.
They go to the good wife. The good wife teaches her that, oh, your powers change with the phase of the moon, which I think is pretty interesting. And new moon, you kill people. Full moon, you heal people. Almost as good as the sundrop flower. I was expecting that to come up, but it kind of didn't, in that, oh, Flynn's really injured, and in a couple of days, there will be a full moon.
Yeah, so I'll be able to heal him then as long as he hangs on.
Yeah, but it happens after the book ends, which I thought was interesting. It's an epilogue. You can do whatever you want here, but whatever. But she's at the Good Witch. She teaches her, hey, this is how you can summon it. You have to really think about your powers. And every day, Rapunzel writes down the next phase of the moon and like what my powers are. And it seems like her powers have a lot to do with change, which I think is very appropriate for a moonflower.
Yeah, the hair magic, on point. I enjoyed the hair magic logic.
Yeah, it's way better than the sundrop flower.
Yeah, it's so static. All you can do is heal people? Come on. Shrink a tower. When you can shrink a tower, come back and talk to me.
Okay, that one I definitely have physics questions about, but that's beside the point.
I know.
But she's learning her magic, this, that, and the other thing.
She transforms Pascal into a chameleon, so you know she has literal, what, transmutive, is that what it be? Transmutation powers? That's wild.
And he becomes intelligent.
Yes.
Which I kind of actually do like, because the movie, you're like, how do you have an intelligent reptile? And this is the point in Disney where everyone's like, you act like horses or dogs.
Yes.
And Maxwell is literally sniffing the ground.
Yep. But it's great. Maximus is fantastic.
And so that was pretty cool to be like, okay, so how do you have a sentient lizard chameleon thing? Chameleons don't even grow there.
Yeah. They're not from this part of Europe.
But as time goes, she's thinking about this, that, and the other thing, her place. She learns she is a princess.
Yep.
So the nickname stands. Oh, okay. Before the good wife, completely forgot about this part. They run into Snuggly Duckling regulars and they say someone has burnt down the pub. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, looking for her, no less.
And it's Countess Barthany.
So, that is wrong. And you want to know something hilarious? I make a comment down on it later. We find out other things about it. Her name is Countess Bathory.
Yeah, I think I just started spelling it wrong in my notes. But Bathory. Apparently she's based on a real person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the brother says that. He's like, he's based on a real person. He murdered people almost as bad as Vlad the Impaler.
Oh, I missed that part.
We all tuned out the hospital portions. But yeah, based on a real person, would kill young maidens for their blood. But not to this point, because she's just run out of young maidens in her country.
Yeah.
And no one has revolted.
Nothing.
There are no women in this country. We can't have children anymore. And everyone's just like, yep, that's what she does.
Can't do anything about it.
What happened to realism?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty wow. The fact that she was picking on her own people to begin with is pretty fascinating. But she's also kind of a mother Gothel because she bathes in young women's blood to be younger.
The immortality, yeah.
And so they find out, oh my gosh, people are looking for Rapunzel. We don't know why. They decide, oh, the safest place for her to be is at the city.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go there. And Flynn is like, well, they're going to throw me in jail. And Rapunzel's like, they can't throw you in jail if you don't have the crown.
Yes, they can. Sorry.
They can. They absolutely can. They don't need the crown.
They already have proof that you stole it. That's all I need.
Yeah. They run into more men, flag down the guards. One of the guards is a dude named Tressberg. His nickname is Maximus. The sister was a little dumb here because after all the transformation magnet, she's like, but what about Maximus the horse? What about Maximus the horse? And in the end end of the book, she turns him into a horse.
Okay, I may have missed this part, but do they say that Tregsburg's nickname is Maximus? Because when he's a human, they reference him only as Tregsburg, and I only caught it at the end where they said, and so Tregsburg Maximus, whatever his last name is, became a horse. I'm like, oh, there it is. I don't remember him being referred to as Maximus at any point other than when he transformed.
It's the very beginning. The first time we are introduced to him.
Okay.
He is given the nickname Maximus.
Gotcha.
Before he was the head of the guard, this, that, and the other thing. It wasn't that big of a plot twist. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
They run away. This is when they end up in Gina's. She learns about her magic. Flynn flip-flops even more. Rapunzel's jealous of Gina and also sleeps with the goats because she's having a lot to process. Tressburg saw Rapunzel having to make this report to the king and queen about what happened.
Yeah.
And he leaves out that he saw Rapunzel? What are you doing, my man? How do you even write a report and be like, oh yeah, dukes and duchesses and ladies are looking for the magical girl with the hair. Not gonna say who. That was such a bad move on his part. And it doesn't come back on him ever. I was just, why? Why did we do this? I think the king and queen have a right to know that their daughter is being hunted down and is out and moving around. It would make sense to not tell other people. It was just really weird that he did tell the king and queen because he's like, oh, they've suffered enough.
Yeah.
My man.
Well, and I think some denial, like you said, that it's not actually Rapunzel.
Yeah, I think he talked himself into that for sure.
Yeah.
But that was a choice. And I was just like, interesting. Anyway, it was such a frustrating part because it's like I liked what was happening in the plot, but what was happening in the story was Rapunzel is jealous of Gina and she thinks she's a spoiled princess, and Flynn is being nice to me, but now he's being mean to me, and I want to sleep with goats. Okay. But that being said, which by the way, the good wife, I have questions about her methods.
Yeah?
You have magical hair, and to understand the truth of your hair, you must go to the ancient circle of stones. It's generally in that direction. Goodbye.
Excuse me, are we intertwining Brave in here?
A little bit. Because she's really excited to see a bear, and good wife's like, bears don't exist here, and she goes into the forest, and the first thing she sees, she's like, oh my goodness, it's a bear! And then she starts describing it, and at first I thought it was a red panda, just from the way she was describing it, and then I realized it was a fox.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just like, oh my gosh, you're such a tiny bear. That was really cute. I kind of wish more of that happened.
Yeah, I've played like ignorance of the world.
Because she points out the only thing she knows about animals are the drawings in the books.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about monks drawing animals, they suck.
Yeah, not good.
The funniest thing, type into Google monk drawings of animals.
Oh boy. Oh, I gotta do it now.
Oh my gosh. Have you never?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Monk, is it like orange robe monk?
The monks in Europe would write out the Bible and then draw pictures to go with them.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my gosh.
They're so bad. My favorite is the snail. It's just like this curly Q and then this green pig sticking out its head and being mad. And then there's also the oyster, which is just this circle with a beak, just a mean beak face. All of them look very angry.
Yeah. Oh, these are wild.
The hippopotamus looks like something out of Dr. Seuss. It's like a fish, but it has feet and a nose of an elephant and then tusks. And a whale is just like a straight up green fish.
Yeah. Wow.
So I really liked that she pointed out, hey, I have no idea what animals look like.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're supposed to look like.
I wish they did that a couple more because I thought that was really cute. She probably could have played into that a little bit more, but it's fine. But yeah, so she has a fox friend. She gives it cheese. I was hoping the fox friend would come up again. It does not. Oh well.
No, we didn't Snow White it.
Or Cinderella it, or Sleeping Beauty it, or even Belle. Ariel. Well, Ariel has friends. She doesn't really sing to them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she is also canonically a fish person talking to other fish things.
Man, we really lost out when we hit classical. Okay, anyway, she makes it to the stones and has no idea what to do.
Nope.
That just seems like an oversight.
She was given zero instruction.
You couldn't have been like, hey, check out the flower or something. She gives them literally everything in the pack, trying to make an offering. That doesn't work. She tries climbing them. She does this, that, and the other thing. And it's not until she looks down at the ground and she notices that the flowers are set up as the constellations are that time of year, which I love that she gave Rapunzel astronomy as a hobby.
Yeah.
I love a girly that can do art and STEM.
Well, I mean, she was big on astronomy in the movie, too. She charted out all the stars on the ceiling and everything and talks about star patterns, and that's how she knew the lanterns weren't stars.
Yeah, but it comes up more in the book because she uses it a lot, obviously. And here's an example. She sees the midday moon, because, you know, the moon can be out during the day, and her hair starts to glow, and this is the point where she transforms Pascal into a chameleon. She's like, I am the moondrop flower. I do have magical powers. It's not just murdering people.
Yep. And again, identity shattered.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment where she's back at the house and the cake is a lie. I don't know if Liz did that on purpose.
I don't know.
But I wouldn't be terribly surprised if she was really into Portal. She has some interesting hobbies.
I also did like the connection between, because I can't remember where I saw it somewhere, and it was someone was saying, and I don't know if it's true or not, I never fact checked it, but the idea of a calendar, a 28-day calendar, we attribute men, but it had to have come from a woman, because why on earth would a person need to understand the moon cycle and have a 28-day cycle, a woman with her period, right? And so because all of her powers are connected to the moon and the phases of the moon, I was like, that is not unlike a menstrual cycle and a hormonal cycle phase of on certain times you can do this.
I think they do mention the menstrual cycle.
Oh, really? I think they mention it because at one point Gothel tried to tell people that her powers got stronger after she got her period, but she was like, that's not true.
Yeah, and that's when she had started shopping her around, which this is the longest auction ever.
Yeah, but that she also said that wasn't true to what happened with her powers.
Yeah. Julius Caesar added the leap day. The Sumerians are thought to have been the first to develop a calendar based on the lunar cycle around 3100 BC. The Sumerian months were based on the lunar cycle, with each month consisting of 29 or 30 days. Other ancient civilizations that used lunar calendar include the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Chinese, the Greeks, and the Romans. The lunar phase cycle, or lunation, is completed every 29.53 days. It's believed that people may have tracked the lunar cycles as far back as 30,000 years ago. So we probably won't know who the individual was that created this.
Yeah.
But I knew the Chinese used it because their holidays are based on the lunar calendar. I knew the Egyptians used it because they did a lot of astrology stuff. So very, very interesting. Lunar calendars have been used for forever, which makes sense. And of course, the Aztecs had a pretty reliable calendar as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's special interest. Calendars interest me. Anyway, she misses the lanterns?
Yeah, I guess they passed that day.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Because Flynn walks up, and this is probably one of the times where I was like genuinely like, okay, you're being a pretty cool guy, Flynn. He walks up and gives her a bouquet because they're going to miss the festival and the lights. And he's like, that's the only thing you wanted when you left the tower. So I'm going to give you this consolation. And I don't know. At Last I See the Light is my favorite song in the movie.
It's so good.
But it works for the story, and she has bigger things to do at this point. She has more of a purpose. So I get it. It makes sense. But also, maybe in the epilogue, they could have added, and they've made lanterns go by to celebrate her coming home.
Yep.
She just never gets to see the lanterns. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's fine. Like I said, that was very sweet of Flynn to be so empathetic about it. But Rapunzel's like, we should just kidnap a dude.
Yep, they'll know.
We want to know what's going on. We should kidnap a dude. So they do. She comes back home one day after taking a bath, and hey, kidnapped thug.
Yeah.
Confirms that everyone wants Rapunzel, and we knew that to begin with, but thank you.
Yes, now it is confirmed. I know you said at the beginning you skipped over the hospital portions, but this was another place where I thought that their comments echoed ours a lot. There was one about, you didn't tell us how the villains found out about her escape, because she brought up, she was like, wait, why is everyone chasing after her? How did they find out she left? You didn't show us that Gothel told people that she left, or people figured out that she's out of the tower. How did they know all of a sudden? I was like, that's a good continuity question.
Yeah, all you get is Gothel running off because of the auction, which you find out out she still tried to do the auction.
Yes.
Is the whole thing. Okay, now that we're on the topic of the auction, Mother Gothel doesn't like Bathory.
Yeah, she knows what Bathory is, but she also tries to pretend like women have to stick together. Not these kind of women.
What's the saying? I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
And so, why is she there? Why did you involve her in the first place? Because, spoiler, not spoiler, Bathory ends up with her, and Mother Gothel is like, I never intended for this to happen. Why? Why bring her?
Yeah.
This is your secret auction.
Yeah, she was like, I was just going to use her to increase the bidding. Okay.
Girl, what are you doing? Anyway, there's a moment where Rapunzel gets mad at Flynn, gives him the crown. He'll eventually give her the crown back. Very sweet. Okay, here's another cute moment. Gina's like, hey, I think he's just scared. And she's like, okay, well, that's a thing. And so she's at her table trying to figure out magic, and she's been told her whole life if she cuts her hair, she'll die. And so she told her friends, if I cut my hair, I'll die.
Oh, yeah.
But then, with the good wife points out, no, that's not true. I mean, you lose hair all the time. She's like, oh my gosh, I do. Like, I brush my hair. And I'm surprised they don't have the baby curl, that how they do in Rapunzel.
Yeah, because it's canonical that her mom has a lock of her hair. Like, they mentioned that.
Yeah, so that doesn't ever get mentioned. But she does point out, like, I should have died like 60 times over by this point. So she's about to cut her hair to see what happens. And Flynn walks in and sees that she's about to cut her hair. And he thinks she's about to harm herself.
Yeah.
Good night. The end.
Yeah, offing herself because they got into a fight or something.
Yeah, and so he freaks out. She's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I did not tell you.
I didn't catch you up on the new facts.
No, I won't die. I promise. I'm so sorry.
I could see how this looks, and he's like, you know what? I do have feelings for you. And they finally kiss.
On the lips.
On the lips. Important note.
Specifically. Oh my goodness. So that was kind of cute. Anyway, she gets kidnapped by one of the mini Duke's men.
Krasky.
Okay, I do kind of love this. She sends Pascal for help, and Pascal's like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
But he's so small.
And then I love the moment where Mother Gothel shows up and she makes a comment about how she looks at Pascal and he's looking back at them, but he hasn't stopped walking the other way yet.
He's like, do I stop or do I not stop? And eventually he's like, I do not stop. And he keeps going.
Yeah, this is still probably not a good situation.
And what's funny is what happens in the end is Flynn and Gina rock up and Flynn just scoops him out off the ground.
Yeah.
He tried so hard.
So hard.
It's so sweet.
And then there's a moment later when she's in Bathory's tower where she's like, I could try and send Pascal, but how long would it take him to find somebody? And then how long would it take for them to understand where to come back to? Ma'am, you did not transform him into a helpful thing. She even's like, oh, if he was a regular lizard, he could just skitter away. Whoops.
If he was the lizard he was before. But chameleons, as she points out, aren't made for running. They're made for holding on to trees.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it was so freaking cute.
Yeah.
It's not quite dark humor, but it's a little dark humor. I love stuff like that. Oh my goodness. But yeah, Mother Gothel shows up, knocks out the guard, is like, we need to go back to our tower. The scene works so much better in the movie.
It did.
She uses the stabbing tins to attack her, and she's terrified. And she's been told, don't leave the tower because terrible people live out there. You're going to get hurt. If I'm not there to protect you, you're going to get harmed. And that's just the confirmation for her. But in this scene, Rapunzel's like, yeah, you're here. But what the heck? Why did you tell me all these lies? And she's like, we'll figure it all out once we get back to the tower. And she's like, I'm not going to the tower. We're not. No, none of this. No. And they have this whole conniption. It's a fit. They argue, and she's like, fine, and she leaves. And I'm so proud of Rapunzel for the uptake, because she's immediately like, well, I'm glad my mom was there to save me.
But why was she there to save me?
But why was she there to save me? How did this dude get in here in the first place? Because the Good Witch has powers to keep people from getting in here. How did she just so happen to hit someone over the head? Also, she took his dagger? That's pretty sus.
Way too well. Yeah.
She was very calm about this. Good job, girl. I'm proud.
Yeah. Well, and then I was convinced because they didn't really end the scene well. And then she was like, and that was the last thing she said to Mother Gothel. And then there was a hard cut. There was part of me the whole time that was expecting Gothel's witchiness powers to come out. There was legit a part of me that thought somehow she body swapped with Rapunzel or disguised herself as Rapunzel to go back into the witch's lair. Again, way more complex than it ended up turning out to be. But I was like, why did we just have a hard stop in this conversation? And you didn't continue it any farther, because this similar scene, she ends with taking Rapunzel forcibly.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, you gave up really easily.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between the book and the movie. You know, in the movie, she's desperate because this is the flower that's going to keep her alive.
Yeah.
You know, without it, first of all, she's going to get old, but second of all, she's going to die.
Yep.
She's been around way too long versus this, where she's just doing it as a get-rich scheme. There's not as much skin in the game. She's still got the Sundrop flower. If she let Rapunzel go, she's still got all that payment and stuff, and she still has all that stuff back in the tower she could sell. It's just not as dire.
Yeah.
She's not as desperate, which was very highly entertaining because we love when villains get their comeuppance, and her being desperate is a sign that she's losing power.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how abusers be. When they lose power, they become desperate, and then they do crazy things. But yeah, they go back to being like, hey, we gotta get her to the castle. So they leave the good wife. They head that way. They go through the town with the kids.
Haircross.
Learns about food scarcity and people and whatever, and she's like, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Oh, and Flynn gives her the crown back. It's very cute.
Yeah.
Except the Bathory has shown up with her wound hounds.
Verhounds.
In case we didn't make it super clear that this takes place in Germany.
This part, apparently.
Let's use the German word for dogs here.
Yeah.
So Rapunzel gets captured, and this is the part where Rapunzel mentions Cinderella.
Yep.
Super weird.
I was low-key a little worried Liz was going to go even darker, but she didn't with this. So, but it wasn't until you got there that it's Bathory, and this woman takes baths in blood. I'm like, wow, that is the worst, most obvious naming convention ever.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay. Hungarian. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Elizabeth Bathory. She was a Hungarian serial killer.
Oh, okay. Like that was her actual name too. Interesting.
Yeah. Bathory and 4 of her servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women from 1590 to 1610. She died at the age of 54 in Slovakia. Let's see. So from the time she was 30 to the time she was 50, and then she was killed when she was 54. She's also known as the Blood Countess or the Bloody Lady of, that is a Hungarian word with special letter characters. So yeah, real person. That's her real name.
Interesting.
Oh, never mind. The servants were executed. She was just imprisoned until she died naturally. Well,
she was technically royalty.
I'm sure they helped that along, but
yeah.
Some people believe it was a witch hunt, while others say the accusations were supported by testimony from over 300 individuals. So it's kind of a back and forth. Did she or didn't she? Recent sources claim that the accusations were a spectacle to destroy her family's influence in the region, which was considered a threat to the political interest of her neighbors.
Wow.
Became part of folklore. Legends describe her with vampiric tendencies, such as the tale that she bathed in the blood of virgins to retain her youth, were based on rumors and only recorded as supposedly factual over a century after her death. Although these stories were repeated for at least 3 historians in the 18th and 19th century, they are considered unreliable by modern historians. Some insist that her story inspired the original Dracula novel, although the author says the novel doesn't really show anything to support that. She is known as Countess Dracula, though.
Oh, interesting.
So there you go. Real person.
Real person.
Real or not real, you tell me.
Who knows? Well, and I've seen that too. There's a character in Outlander who bathes in the blood of virgin, but she would do virgin boys.
Gotta switch it up, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go. Little fun facts about her. Ends up in her care, is in a castle, has dinner with her. She's like, you're gonna murder all of my enemies because no one knows how the magic works.
Nope.
Because Gothel was terrible. She was just like, oh yeah, magic, you know. She can kill things. Look, she killed a thing. And so they don't even know that supposedly up to this point, the lore has been you have to be touching her hair.
Yeah.
And she has to concentrate.
And it's certain times of the moon cycle and all that.
Definitely doesn't know that because Gothel doesn't know that because Gothel is not magic, which
Yeah.
I would have preferred she was witchy.
A little bit. I mean, even just a little.
And she's like, oh, I know enough to be able to creep into the veil of the good wife. So it's just like, I would have liked a little. And now that I think about it, they do go kind of back and forth between, she has no power, she's dumb, she's an idiot, to, well, she knows some things, to, let me do this witchy stuff, to, actually, she sucks at this.
Yep, very much so.
That was interesting. But, so she's like, you're going to kill my enemies or I'm going to kill you. And the servant right there.
Poor Magda.
Poor Magda. Which, she got so little screen time, but she's made more of an effect than the thugs at the Snuggly Duckling.
No.
I love them so much.
The thugs came in clutch there at the end.
They do come in clutch, though.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say she did more than them.
No, but she makes sometimes a bigger impact, but that's beside the point. So she's freaking out. She gets into her room in a tower, and she's like, cool, I'm in another tower, fun.
Wait, did we pass over the whole thinking that her parents set her up and how nonsense that was?
No, that's what I'm getting to.
Oh, okay.
And so she's sitting in the tower, and she's thinking, and she's like, there's only one person that could have possibly told her that I have evil killing powers. My parents!
No, and then it's not in the tower. It's at the lunch. It's at the dinner table because she thinks it for 0.2 seconds, but there's a break, and I think we go either to the real world or to another perspective.
No, we go to Flynn. That's right. So there was a break, and then we talk about Flynn and Gina being like, oh no, we need to find her. It's very short, and then you go back.
Yeah, and she's like, well, so how did my parents know about this? What are they doing for you? And she's like, what do you mean your parents? Gothel set this up, you idiot.
And she's like, what are you even talking about? And Rapunzel's like, oh.
When she said that, they dropped it like a plot twist. She's like, the only person who could have done this is my parents. And then it was like immediate point of view change. I literally had to pause the book and be like, Rapunzel, what are you doing? Like, this made me so exasperated.
It was so dumb. And then I'm so glad immediately. What are you talking about? Gothel set this up.
Of course Gothel set that. Yeah. Ugh.
Well, speaking of, Gothel's creating an army of the rest of the nobles to attack Bathory.
Yeah, which isn't a bad idea.
And so she's creating an army, and Flynn and Gina are trying to get the royal guard to help them out. And so that's all happening while Rapunzel's waxing poetic about mothers and powers and this, that, and the other thing. When Finn and Gina throw a rock into her tower prison that has the initials F and G on it to know that they're there.
Yeah.
That was pretty smart.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, because they were like, oh no, where could she possibly be? She could be in the dungeon. She could be with Bathory. She could be this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, well, there's a tower. Let's try that.
Yeah, most likely she's in the tower.
Gina throws the stone, and Rapunzel is like, I need to get a message out to them immediately. Oh, wait, duh. And she throws her hair out the window.
I love how she's like, what do I do? And Pascal just like points at her hair, and she's like, oh yeah, I have like 100 feet of hair. Tosses it out the window.
Tosses it out the window so she knows she's there. Flynn decides, I'm gonna go and get her by myself. And I was like, that's lame. You're just leaving Gina. And then he immediately gets captured.
Yeah. No, there was definitely a purpose.
Because he got an injury super bad, and the good wife was like, let me heal you. It's going to take days. He's like, no, I must go right now. And so him in this entire scene, he has a horrible head wound.
Yep.
I feel like I gave him like a cat voice right there, but it's fine. Less lame. Gina's got to go save him. Oh no, there was a page turn and I didn't write down what the page turn was. Oh, I know what it was. So the chapters were set up. So you had Flynn and Gina. And so you have a chapter with Flynn. You turn the page and then it's Gina. And I was like, okay, that's really good. It was set up so if you didn't look ahead, it looked like, oh, we're going to have a whole Flynn chapter, except it was perfectly spaced. So when you turn the page, you're like, okay, cool. This is Gina's chapter.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That was a good page placement. I'm going to pretend that it was intentional.
Yeah, I didn't get that in the audiobook.
So Gina wants to go in immediately, and Trustberg's like, no, you need to be smart about this. And Gina's like, why are you trying to help Flynn? And he's like, this, that, and the other thing, and this, and this, and this, and I never had a son of my own.
Yeah, he's like, it has nothing to do with the fact that I've never had a son of my own. Oh, what? And like distractedly walking away, and Gina's like, okay.
That was deeply personal.
Yeah, I loved it.
Oh, it was just so casually thrown out there. So the Knot army has arrived because because of course all the barons try to fight amongst themselves is not really great. So they're fighting stuff against Bathory. And Bathory's army is kind of winning because, you know, they're an actual army versus a bunch of dudes fighting next to each other.
In a fortified castle.
So Bathory shows up and she's like, you gotta use your magic now. You need to kill all my enemies right now or I'm going to murder you.
And Flynn. And Magda.
And Flynn and Magda and everyone. And I really wish I could see this scene in my mind. She gets out of the tower by shrinking it while they're inside it, but instead of it shrinking onto them, it shrinks around them weirdly. She shrinks the door, and I'm so confused because in my mind, if you shrink something, it's going to come around you. And then you're not going to be able to move because this room has shrunk to where you're at. But no, it's just falling apart. And so they're able to escape. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Reading that chapter, I was just like, one of the walls falls because it's so tiny. And I'm just, that's not how shrinking magic works in my mind. And I really wish I could see that. Where is the graphic novel? What is going on?
Yeah, the physics of it didn't make a lot of sense, but I was actually kind of imagining it from an Alice in Wonderland perspective of her hair touched this tower. And so they described it as, if you imagine, you know, the tower sits on a base. And so part of it shrunk down. And so the structure of it is still there, but it's not connected the way it should have been. Like how she said some of the stairs got wonky and then just led where there should have been a doorway. There was just like a drop off to nothing because all of a sudden the space that was there isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And she was like, the magic figured out how to keep the structure up, but it was still crumbling a little bit, but it wasn't just going to fall over. It was still attached to the base somehow and attached to the rest of the castle.
I feel like it would have been better if she had the power that deconstructs things.
Yeah, but that wasn't the right face of the moon.
Ugh, whatever. All of this is made up.
Yes.
So I would have preferred whenever it's like, oh, I've turned this clay mug into a bunch of clay and stuff. And so that would have made more sense to me, is the tower starts falling apart because it's no longer mortar and pestle bricks. It is now clay and whatever the heck mortar is made out of that I can't think of off the top of my head. It would be like falling apart because it's no longer put together as a tower. And so I thought that power would have been better than the shrinking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because confused, but it's all good. We're fine. It's whatever. So you made a really good point here that I didn't think of. She has to use her magic. She can't think of the moon. No matter what she tries, it doesn't work. So Magda suggests she does a children's rhyme.
Yeah.
And that helps Rapunzel concentrate. And you pointed out, I have never been in a situation where I can't picture a moon. You know, the thing that you have been obsessed with and you've looked at out every night because constellations and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, but then a children's rhyme.
But a simple children's rhyme.
It didn't actually describe anything to you. It just said they dance by the light of the moon. Why does that work for you? And I more meant I've never been in a life-threatening situation where I've been forced to recall information, right?
But it's consistent, even when it's not life-threatening.
Why?
It's the simplest situation.
Yeah, she's like, I just can't remember what the moon looks like.
I can't picture it.
Can't picture it. I'm like, it's a moon. It's a circle with white light. What are you talking about?
I feel like if she had to picture a bear, the song would be like Teddy Bear Picnic. That level of, we're not really talking about bears. Okay, don't go in the woods because the teddy bears are having their picnic. And that's the level of rhyme that was. I don't remember what exactly the rhyme was, but that was the level in my brain.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's briefly mentioned and most of it isn't about the moon. But she runs down the stairs, gets into the chaos, runs into Gothel. Rapunzel tells her off, has a very cathartic moment of it. And in the end, Gothel says something and Rapunzel tells her to stop mumbling, which is very poetic because Gothel did that twice to her in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling she does that to her a lot. It's poetic, but I am shocked Gothel just let her go and walk off.
Yeah.
Gothel in my brain would have grabbed her by the hair.
Yeah, and then started riding off with her and someone would have rushed in and saved her.
Or she would have cut her hair.
Yeah.
That was literally what I thought was about to happen, was that Gothel was going to grab her hair, use it to pull her off, and Rapunzel was going to have her Sakura moment, and she just pulls out a knife and cuts off her hair.
Fair.
Because you learn that unlike the Sundrop flower, if she cuts her hair, she will still have her magic.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be as powerful.
So I guess that's why they didn't have a baby hair moment.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was going to happen. It did not.
Nope.
Oh well. So she's about to get grabbed again by another duke because they have taken out enough of Bathory's that they're not an issue, and they're about to fight over her. When Gina shows up, she had an idea earlier in the book, and she's like, I need to do the thing, and she rides off, and you're like, I have no idea what she's about to do. She comes in with the Snuggly Duckling crew.
Heyo.
Who are so mad that she burned down their tavern.
Yep. And I also love how in this world that we talked about where we have chameleons and all this stuff, she continually describes the mime as the man with the white face instead of just calling him a mime.
Yes.
What are you talking about? Of course it's a mime. But no, it's the man with the white face.
It's so funny. And like I said, I just wanted some unicorns. I just wanted a little piano music.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And there was a little bit of it. They're so simple. They're so wholesome, I guess. I loved the line of robbing highwaymen is different than selling people. And of course, we'd come save you. And you're just like, aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So they fight people. You know, the lords want to hold an auction immediately. And the thugs are like, no.
Absolutely not.
Tressburg is dying, but oh my gosh, no, she turns him into a horse.
Yep.
Which, throughout this book, he has been obsessed with horses.
Yes.
He likes them more than people. He watches them in the pastures. She helps train them. She rides Maximus back to the castle, and Rapunzel decides to treat the lords with dignity because she's going to have to deal with him as the future queen. And I'm just like, can you imagine politically dealing with those lords after this?
Oh my gosh, no.
I feel like every argument would end with, you tried to buy me, and when that didn't work, you tried to kidnap me. Like, that's gonna win most arguments.
Yep. Nope, sorry. You have no political power anymore.
I know it's realistic in that you can't just be like, I hate you all and cut them off because trade and whatnot, but
yikes.
it sounds like the Sun Country's the one doing well. It's like when Elsa cut off Wesselton from Arendelle, you know? You need this more than we do. But hey, she meets her parents, and the dad is like, isn't that Flynn Rider, the thug? And the mom's like, no! That's Eugene! Totally different. I loved that.
Yeah, the person who saved my daughter, right? Yeah, that was great.
Different person. I liked that. That was pretty good. It's hinted at that Gina and Eugene are related because their names sound similar. They're like Gina and Eugene.
See, I must have missed that part because I started realizing when her mom questions, oh, y'all are together, not Gina and Eugene, because they came in riding on a horse and they're like, are you actually kidding me? No. And they start talking about how similar they are, and they both like adventure, and they're highwaymen and all this kind of stuff, and they're thieves and sneaky. And they were like, oh wait, and that they both came from the same orphanage, and so that's how I thought they were trying to tie it together.
Yeah, but seriously, it's like Gina and Eugene, and then Rapunzel immediately turns around and goes, I have a sister.
She was so hyped.
So hyped. Which, I don't know, I would have liked more of a found feeling vibe than actually making them related.
Yeah.
It's not about, that's something great for especially 17, 18-year-olds about to go into the world, you know?
Yeah, found family.
Some people are lucky in that their family's a great source for them, and then some people have to find their own people.
Yeah.
And both are fine. Rapunzel has her family, and now she has her found family. You know, she's not related to the good wife, but I feel like she would still feel a connection to her and visit her and this, that, and the other thing. But epilogue, this was actually pretty good. Rapunzel was like, I'm going to put Gina in charge of this very important orphan thing. And Gina's like, nah.
No.
I'm going to go adventure. Bye.
And then she's like, very few people have said no to me. I don't really know how to handle this.
Maximus? Okay. Maximus decides to stay to oversee the change in power of the guard, but then he's gonna go hang out with horses. And I'm just, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Coming back from this battle on this horse, and they're like, where's Tressburg? And they're like, he's a horse.
Yeah.
But really, what happened to Tressburg?
Well, and I love how they mentioned they had to put him through paces and do a lot of tests to prove it was him. And so I'm like, what tests would you do to a horse? Are you going to say, well, go to your chambers, show us where your room is, or show us some secret that only Tressburg would know that you could somehow communicate in a horse? And then she said the line of like, is he going to continue working, or is he quite literally going to be put out to pasture? And I'm like, oh my gosh, the horse puns that they put in here at the end was hilarious.
Yeah. And then Eugene buys her book number 38 because she's only had 37 books up to this point, which, girl, you need to get back to that tower and get your stuff back. Take Maximus, take the guard, go get your stuff back.
Fair, but it was a sweet gesture.
It was a sweet gesture, but that was what my thoughts was like, the parents should be like, but what about about all the stuff I sent you?
Yeah, I never saw it.
And then the mom could be like, yeah, there was this secret room behind the stairs and the armoire, and so they can go get their stuff.
Yep.
She deserves to get her stuff back. Anyway, you remember the spy from the very beginning of the book?
Uh-huh. He ruins Gothel's life.
He may or may not, but most probably just rips the sunflower out of the ground.
Yep.
Which is very poetic, but a part of me is like, that feels wasteful. Supposedly the last sundrop flower or whatever. Nah. Oh, what if she gave it to, like, the good wife? The good wife used it or something. I don't know.
But somehow this random dude found out that that's how Gothel was keeping herself alive. And I love how it was so vague. And maybe the screams that you heard were the anguish of Mother Gothel and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, I mean, I'm glad she got her just desserts, but woof.
So that's the story. Daniela ends up liking it. And oh my gosh, by golly, Brendan actually misses the characters. Flynn Rider's his friend, and he hopes to look up to him one day. Okay.
I learned things along the way.
Okay. There you go. General thoughts. I hate the back and forth.
Yeah.
It never added, I feel like, yeah, it vented some of our frustration to be like, okay, yeah, Liz, you know. But did that really add to the book? Like, was this really necessary?
So where I came to it at the end was this idea that I don't hate it, but I wonder if it allowed, because the rest of the story, in my opinion, big guess, was good. And so I wondered if it gave Liz some sort of separation of a way to write it. Like, I'm writing it as if someone was telling it, well, that's what you were doing in the beginning, but you needed another degree of separation. But literally you could lift all of those chapters out of the book and it just would have been a normal Twisted Tales book.
Yeah, it was just such a weird ad.
You didn't need the inclusion. Yeah.
But 100%, if I knew a horse girl, this book is for horse girls. They have spent so much time talking about horses. So much time.
Oh, yeah. And the hair magic. It reminded me of what hairology, right? Like the study of, like, I can't actually sing, so I'm just going to whip my hair around to make you think I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
Oh, so much hair.
So much hair.
Which is important, I guess, for a story of Rapunzel.
And witchy stuff, you know, this is a very girly book.
Yes.
There's horses, there's hair magic, there's things that go by the phases of the moon, there's witchy powers that aren't magic, but they're Wiccan and stuff that people nowadays use as magic.
Natural. Yeah.
Just the whole thing was very feminine to me.
Yeah.
Even Flynn had his more feminine takes. But there you go, we did it. We read the book out of curiosity, this being one that you were really worried about. When we found out this was Liz, how do you think she did?
I actually think she did really good. Just to skip ahead to favorite in the series, I think this is my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked the twist. I liked the perspective of the difference. I liked all the extra explanation and everything. And that's what I was saying about the real world thing was so, maybe that's what it was. Like, it was just so throwing. It allowed you to be into the story more. But I think there was something about her writing it in that Princess Bride-esque perspective way that allowed her to get out of her own head and acknowledge where some of the flaws are.
And fix them.
And tell the story that she wanted to tell. Somehow it worked for her. And honestly, I actually really enjoyed it.
You know what would be really funny? If some of the questions that Daniela points out were notes from her editor.
Yeah. Or just like we said, there's such common things that she does in the other books. They are not uncommon questions, generalized questions that we've seen before, right? I agree with what you said. She's like, I know what you guys are wanting from me. I'm just telling you, I can't figure out how to way to put it in the actual series. So here's an aside.
I'm glad you liked it. You were very worried.
Yeah, I was.
One question for the author. No, really, did you watch Princess Bride recently? Because I can't. Why? Why is it like this? I am so opposite. I ended up, and I'll get into that in rating, why I ended up hating it in the end. In the beginning, it was fine. I was like, okay, this is a little weird, Liz, but when have you not gone dark?
And that was in my rating. You weren't dark enough that you had to throw in childhood cancer. Why did you think that was necessary?
Do you know someone going through it and their favorite book is Rapunzel? And you were like, I got you, girl.
Yeah, did you write this for someone? I don't know.
It's just so weird and random, and you've written so many of these books. You basically created the cornerstone on which this series was built.
Yep.
And then you did this. I just want to know. What's your question? Oh, yeah, that was your question.
That was my question. Yeah. Was the story not dark enough? You had to throw cancer in there.
It was not dark enough. This is no torturing people in mental asylums. So or tearing apart a carpet in a way that seems like torturing a human being, you know?
Yeah.
Killing people to bathe in their blood. Oh, wait, that is in this one. Anyway, rating. Watch the gosh dang movie out of 10. That's what it ended up being for me. I give a little leeway for someone in the beginning of a movie being like, what is happening? What is going on? Who is that? But if you do that the whole movie, if you can't be kowtowed a little bit, be like, I don't know, you have to watch the movie, and you're like, oh, okay, that's fair. Maybe you're an inquisitive person in life and you ask things and you're like, oh, wait, this is not that type of medium. But if you sit through the entire movie and going, what's that? Who's that? What's going on? Why are they doing that? Unless we're having one of those sit down, watch a movie, make fun of it, talk about it, yesify it, I'm totally down for that. But that's usually for a movie we've seen before, you know?
Yeah.
I would love to sit down and watch Lord of the Rings and yesify it, but I don't know. Just watch the movie. Stop asking me questions. I don't care how good the questions are. I just want to read the gosh dang book. I'm into it. I'm enjoying it. I don't want to make fun of it yet.
Yeah.
Just watch the movie. Daniela, just listen to the book. Where's Maximus? Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done this? Don't worry. I have a plan. Only works as a chapter so many times.
Yes, that's fair.
Oh my goodness. And sometimes I like it, her contributions being like, hey, you know, the mom wouldn't be happy with that. She wouldn't be chill about that. And he's like, oh, that's a perspective I haven't thought about before. That's an ad, but it stops. Any sort of good ad stops, and it's literally just Daniela asking questions or leaving the hospital.
Yeah, and then coming back.
Okay, it was a whole thing. So just watch the gosh dang movie, okay? Shush.
I would say my rating is it's just another Rapunzel adaptation out of 10. It's not bad. It's not great, but because this is a story that has been done over and over and over again throughout the centuries, we are obsessed with the story of Rapunzel for some reason. And it's just another one.
So we're on the opposite sides of this. Read again? Probably not. But I'm also okay. I'm like, if I never see Rapunzel, the movie, for the rest of my life, I'd probably be fine.
Oh, no. I love it. It's so good. I can't wait to show my daughter Rapunzel. It's such a good movie.
See, that's how I feel about Tiana. And Almost There is next. So...
Well, I feel that way about most Disney movies, actually. So maybe I'm biased.
That's fair.
But no, I would read this again.
I don't know why they pitted these two movies together, but I'm more of a Frozen person than a Rapunzel person.
Oh, no, definitely not.
I really like the Elsa struggle. I really identified with her. But that being said, no, I don't think so. I have no desire to buy it, and I cannot imagine me 20 years in the future and be like, you know what sounds fun? Rereading the Twisted Tales series.
Oh, definitely not the entire series, but this book, and a lot of it I gauge, like, because I've got a lot of other Disney friends, I gauge, like, would I recommend this to somebody? And this one I would. I enjoy this perspective. I might want, like, my husband to listen to it, kind of thing. I would read it again in my Audible, because at this point I bought all of them in Audible, so I would listen to this again.
Yeah, I would be fine with suggesting this to someone else who likes Disney. You know, there's some Twisted Tales where you like, skip it.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It sucks.
Most of them.
But then there are other ones where I'm like, yeah, you should get that one. I might warn them about the cancer child.
Yes, that's fair.
Because that's a little jarring. But other than that, you know, it's pretty good. Favorite of the series so far. So you think it's this one.
And I was worried because there was one book that I didn't like, and then we started recording. I think it was Peter Pan. And so I made a note, I made a caveat before we record this one, because I was like, there is a possibility I get in here. And then she opens my eyes and we just rip this book apart. But no, I mean, I still think this one, Cinderella is good. And I will say the romance in Cinderella is probably its redeeming quality, right? But I did love Flynn and Rapunzel so much. And honestly, I guess the top three are this one, Cinderella, and Mulan.
I just love the caveat is we might start this and she ruins the book for me. But
listen, you've done it before. You've also done it the other way. You've made me appreciate books that I didn't appreciate.
I have very loud opinions, mostly backed up by fact. Or at least I can convince you it's fact. That might be a talent in and of itself.
There you go.
But okay, so I did say Cinderella right this second. I think I've noticed a pattern. It's always either Mulan or Cinderella. And I think whichever one it ends up being is which part I wish this book did better. If I read the book and I'm like, I wish you did the action scenes better, I wish you did setting better, it's Mulan.
Okay.
If I think, I wish you did the character dynamics better, I wish you did the dialogue and the romance better, then it's Cinderella. And so for this book, I wish the Flynn and Rapunzel romance was better. And so it's Cinderella.
I got you.
I found a pattern.
Yeah, there you go.
But have you read this book? What powers would the starflower have? Because that one is briefly mentioned.
They did mention that, yeah.
Sun, moon, and stars. Do you have any book recommendations for us? Tell us all about it in the comments below. If you like the video, hit like, and if you're enjoying yourself, hit subscribe for more. Thank you for exploring what once was mine with us. Join us next time when we'll be covering Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Caitlin.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time. Escape With Me Book Club is a Lunar Skulk production. Check us out on TikTok or Instagram to keep up to date with us. Lunar_SKULK.